Well, his storied career has spanned the better part of 40 years. That's on the field. And tonight we're celebrating Saint Ignatius head football coach Chuck Kyle.
Yeah, he's been employed there as a teacher and coach, assistant coach prior to head coach for 51 years. And tonight is Coach Kyle's final game as head coach in the regular season. We know they're making the playoffs,
right,
but this is the end of his regular season run. And we're looking back on what has been a truly stunning career. Dave Chudowski and Nick Camino are live at Wasmer Field at Saint Ignatius. Guys, what a festive night.
Good evening, Jay. Good evening, Betsy. Yeah, it truly is a festive night. We are looking at tonight as a celebration. We got a chance to see Coach Chuck Kyle a little bit ago, though, Dave. He reminded us the thing he's focused on. There's a football game here tonight, right? That is so Coach Chuck Kyle, right?
Wouldn't expect anything less, right? He's just focused on the game. And the game is here at Wasmer Field. You know, traditionally they play their home games at Byers Field. You can only get about 3,500 in here. This is a place where I watch a lot of CYO games here.
Yeah, there's
Nick,
some soccer games.
But high school football, I mean, this is a first, right? They had to bring in lights. They had to bring in bleachers. So when they take on the team from Canada North here, it will be a first, but it is his last regular season game coaching for the Wildcats. What a career it has been for Coach Chuck Kyle. 40 years here as the head coach, 51 years though overall. You have to remember, he went here, all right, graduate, and then he was an assistant coach. Then he worked his way up to be the head coach, and it's just unbelievable what he's done. 11 state titles, 31 playoff appearances, and it's not just about football, okay? He is a teacher, and if you ask him, I mean, he would tell you he loves teaching the most. That's what he takes the most pride in. But he looks at the football field as a classroom, and when he reads books to his kids, he reads like he's a coach, all right? But he really cares so much about his kids. He cares so much about this school, and really, he never looked at this like it was a career.
I never looked at this as a career. I just didn't. You know, careers, you kind of bounce around and you do that sort of thing. I looked at this as a vocation. And to me, a vocation is in here. You know, I wanted to teach, I wanted to coach, and I wanted to do this at Saint Ignatius. This is where I felt so comfortable. And for me, it was a vocation. How's that?
And as you said, Dave, not only is this, you know, the final regular season game for him, but they do have the playoffs still, and he's got the state titles, you know, to back it up. They've had an interesting season. You never know what's going to happen come playoff time. This could be a team that, you know, rides Coach to a little bit longer than maybe some expect, because hey, it's his final ride, and you know the players are pulling for him for sure.
Wouldn't that be storybook, right?
It really would.
I mean, listen, Chuck Kyle is great, but he's had great coaches too, assistant coaches that have been there, and you have to have the players, right? And he brings the most out of his players, and a lot of these players just became household names, really, when you started following them. A couple of them, the Haddad brothers, remember them?
Yep.
So the Haddad brothers sat down with Jimmy Donovan. It's a special story here.
Well, gentlemen, here we are, and a legend is leaving the game. Chuck Kyle, the guy that you played for at Saint Ignatius and won so much with at Saint Ignatius, and he's stepping away. What does that mean to you, Eric?
I'll tell you, you know, his legacy, what he taught us day in, day out, and candidly did it before, you know, there was all the social media and things of that sort. He did a lot of things behind the scenes that helped build character, and that started from faith, and it finished on the football field, obviously.
Yeah. He says the football field is the greatest classroom of them all. Are those the kind of things he told you guys, Drew?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we were truly blessed to have played for Chico and to have the opportunity to go out there every day and compete. But the lessons that we learned, he always talks about being prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually. And those three things he hit on every single day, and he demanded the most of us, and that created accountability, and we had that amongst ourselves and for our coach. And when you have that, you want to play for each other, and you want to play for the guy that's telling you what to do, that's where the magic happened.
Take me in those locker room pregame speeches.
You are the greatest football team in the state of Ohio, you understand? And if I gotta yank it out of you, I will.
Do you remember speeches that he gave and what it was like in that locker room before real big games?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that was his fire. It was there all the time. You know, the pregame was always kind of this calm before the storm, and then it was a bring it in, let's go. Yeah. And then he started his speech, and I'll tell you what, all eyes, all attention was on Chuck, and he did it time and time again. And the energy and the passion behind him would make anybody run run behind him or run through a wall.
And the energy and the juice, so to speak, that he brings. I mean, he'd be standing there and some of the linemen would be sitting down. He was barely tall enough to look over the lineman, and he's yelling at you, but he would crawl through the shoulder pads and point his finger, and everybody was locked in. I never experienced anything like that in my life, of seeing a group of guys, 100 guys and coaches completely locked in on one man speaking.
Do you think that was the English teacher in him?
Absolutely. He had that. He just had that. He had a way of connecting and then dialing in the speech for kind of the passion he was feeling at that moment, and it was poetic in so many ways. Because, I mean, I remember the one, he looks at us and he says, if you have any fear in you whatsoever, I'm going to stand right by that door, and you come shake my hand as you leave this locker room.
Wow.
And that was, to me, was powerful.
Well, I know it's in the alma mater, but he walks the line. He is an Ignatius man forever, isn't he?
Yep, every day.
Catch up with the Haddad brothers, certainly, and watching that, I was thinking about all the former players, and you think about the all-purpose ponies and so many other great titles and names that these players had, nicknames. But it's not just the players that are celebrating Coach Kyle here tonight.
Yeah, listen, Dave, I mean, you think about a lot of the coaches over the years that have gotten to know Chuck Kyle, right? These college coaches that were recruiting his players, but also in getting to know some of these NFL coaches, they talk about Coach Chuck Kyle. They know Chuck Kyle. They want to talk about his players that played for him. What were they like in high school? We're thinking about drafting this guy. One of those college coaches, though, a longtime legendary coach, was Jim Tressel, right? All those years he spent at Youngstown State and then at Ohio State. He had dealings with Chuck Kyle over the years, and he had a special message to Chico as he gets set to call it a career.
Coach Kyle, congratulations. 40 years, extraordinary success, but most important, the impact you had on those students and on Saint Ignatius as a whole. You've made a difference in our community. Every one of your Wildcats that I've coached have been first class and loved you so much. Congratulations. You'll never be forgotten.
Think about that, Dave, right? I mean, legendary college coaches that talk to Coach Chuck Kyle all the time to talk about athletes that he was coaching, that they were thinking about recruiting or bringing in. And even at the NFL level, a lot of NFL coaches calling him and saying, hey, Coach, what are we getting here for this guy? We know he played in college, a couple of years, but he played for you in high school. What kind of kid is he? So great relationships, great respect for Kyle throughout the years at both the college level and the NFL.
And it makes me think back to when I was in the sports department, and I would go and interview him all the time. And I used to love the fact that after we were done talking business, right, on camera, then he would talk about NFL players with me sometimes. And I would pick his brain, and man, he would be right on the money breaking down these NFL players. He could have coached in the NFL. So
we are getting ready for Coach Chuck Kyle's final regular season game here at Wasmer Field. Betsy, Jay, Carmen, we throw it back to you guys in the studio. Should be a great celebration here tonight.
Should be a lot of fun. And in typical Coach Kyle fashion, he wants no cupcakes on the schedule. He plays one of the toughest schedules every single year. He has a team from Canada coming in that is a powerhouse. It's sort of like a IMG Academy down in Florida. All of these guys are there at their high school in Canada for one reason, and that's to get a college scholarship.
Wow.
So he's got a powerhouse team, and he'll have his hands full, and we'll, of course, give you the recap of that game coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. Guys, thanks. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Our own Jim Donovan sat down for a 45-minute one-on-one interview with Coach Chuck Kyle. You'll want to check that out. They talk about everything under the sun. You can watch the whole thing. It's posted on our website, WKYC, the YouTube page. And it's also streaming right now on WKYC Plus.